But if we relate that back to buying businesses or buying into businesses, in your view, when you buy into a business and buy into a culture, and tell me about your experiences, is it better to take over a business slowly and gradually, or do you see people coming in and snapping up an entire business and running it through their machine?
Both, absolutely both.
Works both ways. Yeah.
It'll depend on the people.
Yep.
An example is my accountant. My accountants, Gary and Jenny. They ended up becoming, so we're now mutual clients of each other's. They ended up joining my Inner Circle mastermind group as well, because the reason I chose them as accountants, even though they're only in their late 20s, is because they're the biggest accounting nerds that I've ever met. Right? I'm like, I want you on my team because you're excited about finding this deduction or this thing, and just really hungry for accounting. Whereas my last accountant was in his late 60s, and we had him for like 12 years. And so it got a bit stale, in that sense. So, I mean, he'd had a health challenge, so we needed to move accountants anyway. But when I found Gary and Jenny, primarily Gary is who I deal with, they joined my group just over a year ago, and his goal was like, I want to grow a business from this to this, and blah, blah, blah. And I said, and we're going through the process. I said, why don't you just buy another accounting practice? I said, there's plenty of older accountants looking to retire. It's like, really? We could do that? I'm like, yeah. And use their money.
Yep.
It's like, what do you mean? So get them to vendor finance it. Because they're not going to do that. Anyway, so in June, where are we now? In September, October. No, it was in February this year. It was February this year. I'm just trying to think when he settled. It's around February this year. They actually settled in that business, and they only put 30% deposit down of their own money, and 70% was vendor financed. So part of it was 20% was funded from a lender, and 50% was vendor financed. And that vendor finance is based on the business hitting certain milestones. Otherwise, they have to pay less for the business, right?
Yeah,
because it doesn't hit the milestones. And they came in, and they, within the first 2 months, moved them all across from still sending physical paper tax returns out to all of their couple thousand clients and all sorts of stuff, to using a digital, document signing system. And within 2 months, switch that business around. And the business is much more effective, much more efficient. We've actually been able to remove one team member, which means that it's more profitable now. They haven't lost any clients yet. They've still got the owners involved on a lesser level for the first 12 months to do handover of relationship. But what it's allowed them to do is, and the culture is not perfectly matched to their culture, but the individuals in the business, 9 out of 10 of or 90% of the people in that team would be a cultural fit. And so that's what they saw about the team. Went, these guys have got potential. So they've brought the team across, but they already know they've got robust systems and things. Even if they lost a few of the team, they've got enough ability to pick it up. So that's effectively, more than doubled their revenue as a business. And once the buying the business is paid off, it's almost tripled their profit because of their economies of scale. They've been able to move into one location, not two, remove one of these other people and stuff. So having that ability to take over a business, maintain the owners there for a time so that you can get out of their head, particularly if they're old school, get it out of their head. How do we get it out of your head, and capture it so that when they walk off, you've still got a strong business after that. So that's one of the ways to do it. The other way is, as you'll see larger businesses do this, they'll take a small stake in something that they're looking to buy into. I know that, what's it called? Just trying to remember the NAB-owned company that ended up buying 3 of the mortgage broking, that bought Plan, Fast, and Choice, the 3 mortgage broking aggregators. I just can't remember the name escapes me, not the point. But they bought one of them outright, but then the other 2, they bought a 15% stake first to see how those businesses were tracking. But then they had an option to then increase that equity holding, which they ultimately then increased to 100%. So they staged it. So in small business, we can do the same, play the same game as big business. There's no restriction on that. Or you may just literally buy the business, the owner walks off, which is called the walk in, walk out. You walk in, they walk out, and you just keep going. And particularly for businesses that are running very poorly, but you can see very quickly how to improve the profitability. And if it's a competing business with yours, you could potentially just buy it, like I did with 10 mortgage trail books. We rolled up 10 other mortgage trail books into our business. All I needed to do in total was add 4 hours to one of my team's time to manage those books. And that was it.
You had the wheels, everything was there.
Yeah, and because that's a recurring revenue stream, there's not, you don't have equipment, we didn't have team other than the one managing it. We had all that automated systems and stuff, and they do a phone call twice a year, and it was great to buy that. And we didn't want anything to do with the owner after that. It was just like we bought them, and we had obviously certain milestones that it had to maintain. Again, we vendor finance part or all of it, so that we minimised our risk that we bought a dud, as well. So
yeah, the stage approach is interesting as well, because to understand if you actually fit the culture of what you're buying into, you get to slowly implement yourself, sit down with everyone, see how it actually runs, and consider, do I want to own this entire thing or a majority of this thing right here?
And that's, we're talking about acquiring ultimately, whether it's a bit or all of it. If you're just investing, and it depends on your skill set, if you're coming along, are you just money to that business owner, or are you smart money? Are you actually someone who's coming along with skill sets, with knowledge, with experience that you can now mentor them, and they now become a vastly better business person, and therefore the return on your investment is going to be substantially higher as well, because you're actually helping to mentor. And that's what I do. I combine my desire to mentor great people with my investments, because then I've got some control over it. That if I just invested in the share market or invested in something over here and then let it sit there, I've got zero control. But I have a lot more control if I invest in a small business where I'm working with someone who's a great individual. I can help them mature and grow as well.
Hands-on ability to grow your own money and to grow your own wealth.
Yep.
I love it.